September 18th through the 22nd, 2000. This was an off week, but the practices were fairly intense because pro scouts were watching. Most of the time, when we're in sweats or half pads, the defense thinks we're wearing full pads and rush hard off the line. Everyone gets sick of these sweats All-Americans, so we end up blatantly holding them, which gets them mad at us. Thursday, the scout team went one-on-one with each other. The last time we did this, the offense totally dominated the defense, and this week wasn't too different. We only run a very basic selection of our own plays. The defense tries to run our defense, but half the guys don't know what to do. Sometimes, just for fun, the coach sends in a defense that even the first-string guys would have trouble figuring out. Coach Charlie McBride, the defensive coordinator, is notorious for this and would stand back and just laugh at all the confusion. Saturday, September 23rd, 2000. Nebraska 42, Iowa 13. This whole week leading up to this game, we did a lot of special teams work. Last Saturday's effort apparently wasn't good enough. Coach Young said he would try to get me in for a PAT snap, but he didn't seem very dedicated to this appeasement. The defense was looking very good this week in practice, almost as good as last year's defense. All in all, it was a typical week. The atmosphere in the locker room before the game today was very complacent. We're ranked number 1 in the nation right now, and it's hard to get excited to play such a lopsided matchup. The feeling in the locker room was about the same intensity as during the spring game, which isn't very intense. Before we took the field, the seniors tried to get us psyched up, but I could tell a lot of guys really didn't care. We definitely have a team with some of the best talent in the nation, and we have the capability to be national champions, but we don't have the week-by-week desire. A lot of critics and fans can't understand how a game between a highly ranked team and an unranked team could ever be close, but it's very easy to figure out. When the spread of the game is more than 25 points, we feel like it's a waste of our time to even show up, and they should just give us the win automatically. The underdog thinks much differently. They have nothing to lose, and if they can give us a good game, it will make their season. Every team that plays us will give us their best game. This is something the coaches always tell us. This is exactly how it felt today. Iowa's first drive was very impressive, and it scored without much difficulty. On our following possession, the offense had some trouble getting downfield. This was the story for the first half. Iowa put up a really good fight, and we hung in there and went to the locker room with a little extra buffer thanks to a Hail Mary pass hauled in by Matt Davison. During halftime, Coach Solich gave us one of the most heated and energetic speeches he has ever given. He must have sensed the complacency and tried to change it. Obviously, it worked, and we came out very strong for the rest of the game, sealing it with a 42-13 score. Interesting facts of the game. Eric Crouch tied a school record with 5 touchdown passes, Tracy Whitstrom tied a school record with 3 touchdown receptions, and even though we had over 300 yards rushing, we didn't have 1 rushing touchdown. I wonder how many years it's been since that happened. After the game, we got $15. Earlier in the week, we all got our sweat outfits. They're just basic gray, but they were free. Saturday, September 30th, 2000. Nebraska 42, Missouri 24. Today's game was typical of the season so far. The defense looked porous, and the offense had a very slow start. The special teams finally stepped up, however. There were many key plays, most notably Bobby Newcomb's 94-yard punt return for a touchdown, and the great kicking on punts and kickoffs. There were a lot of key changes made on special teams this week, especially on the kickoff teams. We currently rank near the bottom nationally for a couple of the special team statistics. One good thing about this is that we don't have too many attempts, so a few good special teams plays will get us back where we need to be. The defense gave up close to 500 yards, giving Missouri slightly more total yards. If it weren't for an impressive drive late in the fourth quarter that let Judd Davies carry it for 65 yards in 3 plays, we would have been held under 300 yards rushing. This was one of our best all-around games with all 3 components playing well, but none of them played well for the whole game. There were a lot of other elements that went into our victory, such as their quarterback getting injured and their nutcase of a coach throwing a temper tantrum on the sidelines that gave us great field position. It seems to me that we're only playing as well as we have to. When we play a good team, we're able to step it up and win, but when we play a bad team, it's like we toy with them to see how much fight they have until we finish them off. I don't know if it's deliberate, I'm sure it's not, but I think we don't have the desire to prove something like the '95 team did. We're too complacent and figure as long as we can scrape by, we'll be okay. This might hold true, since a third of the top 25 teams got beat today, leaving fewer but more deserving teams to battle for positions. I believe we have the mentality that since we are Nebraska and ranked number 1, everybody we play will just roll over dead in front of us and we'll be handed the Sears trophy on a golden platter. We were finally able to come away with a 42-24 win. It wasn't decisive, it wasn't dominating, it wasn't even fun to watch. We're running on luck right now, and soon our luck will run out and we will have to rely on our skill, intelligence, and physical domination. I know we can do it, and it's about time it happens. Monday, October 2nd, 2000. Today at lunch, starting center Dominic Raiola said, "If this was my freshman year and the defense just came off a game like they had last Saturday, I would be afraid to practice today." This is because Grant Wistrom and Jason Peter led that ferocious defense, which would take out their aggression on the scout team. There is no force on defense like that this year, however. There is no key player who is totally aggressive, mean, and nasty. Instead, we have a tepid defense with skilled players, but no real aggressive leadership. I seriously think that all the new rules the coaches made about fighting during practice and hazing virtually castrated any overly aggressive tendencies by anyone, leaving the defense especially weak. Everyone is now too kind in a sport that thrives on the destruction of others. The report today regarding our game goals was very disheartening. The defense only reached 1 out of 15 goals. The special teams actually did remarkably well, with only 2 goals missed. The offense didn't do too badly, but there is still a lot of room to improve. Thursday, October 5th, 2000. We received thick, black, down-filled winter coats today after practice. We were told in meetings that we would get them, and to make them legal, we had to wear them to practice today. I guess they weren't ready to be distributed quite yet, so they gave them to us after practice. Coach told us to wear them to tomorrow's practice instead. Practice tomorrow is only for those guys who will travel, and they'll practice here instead of at the Iowa State Stadium, which will save them about an hour-and-a-half trip from the hotel to the stadium and back. Since I won't be traveling, I can go home and relax right after my class and take a 3-day weekend from football. The defense was looking uncharacteristically good this week. They were all very fast off the line and in hot pursuit of the ball in every play. This could definitely be the turnaround game for the defense. The special team seemed to have its breakthrough game last week, so I hope they will keep that up. The offense is actually going through somewhat of a slump, if that's even possible with the amazing talent of the group. The line seems slow and sluggish, the backs unenthused, and the receivers unmotivated. They really need to pick it up this game, and for the rest of the season, if we're going to keep our national championship hopes alive. This week was not an easy one for me. With deadlines slamming down on me in all my classes and no positive reinforcement from the coaches, I had serious thoughts of quitting. Being on the scout team provides no motivation for progress, since I'm not even part of the group that's learning the plays for the current game. Plus, seeing my peers, and even some of the younger guys, on the 1s and 2s makes me question why I'm wasting my time here. Coach Young has nothing but criticism for me. I thought long snapping would provide a chance for me to get on the field early, but he has turned it into my vice. I have never heard one positive remark from that man. The closest he ever gets is when he doesn't say anything at all. Sometimes I have to pry a remark from him just to see if he noticed a play that I thought was good. I'd say, "Am I right to block that guy coming around, or do you want me to block the first guy?" And his reply is something like, "No, you did it right. Just work on getting deeper." I can never win with that man. I'm really doubting my involvement here. I feel like I was just the right guy at the right time. I was of the right size and athletic ability to join the Huskers. It was great at first with many benefits, all the clothes, public notoriety, respect, bull trips, monies, rings, watches, etc. But the demands are extreme. Football takes up a lot of time and energy, making me feel stretched thin between everything else in my life. I know that in the long term the other things will be more important, but the instant gratification is better. Even so, I know the love for this game is gone. I question whether I can go through the process of breaking with the team, which would also mean the end of all the benefits, or should I just fake my affection for the game and bide my time? Would I be happier with another football team? The benefits would never be as great as they are here. Some days I wish I would just be cut from the team. I've never given them a reason to cut me, but it would make it easier for me. I'm not the right guy for football. I don't have the right mentality, or tenacity, or whatever you want to call it. All I have that put me in this position is my size and my perseverance. My body is in a uniform, but my heart is somewhere else. I wish I could break free and find out where it is. I figure I'll put in the time necessary to finish out everything here, and then Saturday, October 7th, 2000. Nebraska 49, Iowa State 27. Once again, our offense had an incredibly slow start. We really couldn't do anything until the fourth quarter when we put up a massive scoring explosion. At halftime, we were actually behind 13-14. The defense played a much better game overall, but Iowa State had an amazing passing attack that we really had trouble stopping. Luckily, we were able to capitalize on their breakdowns, which made the game end up looking a lot better than it actually was. The special teams had a near-perfect game, which was very nice to see. I didn't travel with the team, but I ended up going to the game with my good friend Michael Callahan. We left Friday night and spent the night with an independent movie producer with whom Mike is planning to do a movie next year. We arrived at the stadium for the tailgate party Saturday morning at about 10:30. I was told this tailgate was a sight to behold, but it truly is something you have to see for yourself. All around the stadium are huge parking lots filled with cars and people 4 hours before the game. People were grilling food, most people had some kind of music blaring, and pretty much everyone was enjoying their favorite alcoholic beverage. It was a great atmosphere, mostly dominated by Iowa State fans, who were very vocal about their support. Honestly, I've never heard so many people talking so much smack. It wasn't just a few drunk fans getting in my face since I was wearing Husker gear. It was everybody I passed walking around that tailgate. I heard everything. "Nebraska sucks! Go home, loser! How does it feel to be number 2? I had a lot of fun with all the smack talking and gave it right back, saying, "We're number 1 and 2, but what are you ranked? Oh, that's right, you're not. That must suck since you're 4-0 too." It seemed like everyone had something to say, and I loved it all. I walked through the crowd and laughed at all the stupid things those fans said. They won 4 games, and their fans were acting like they've already won the national championship. I sat in the front row of the 35-yard line on the Iowa State bench. From there, I was able to yell things at their team and get the Iowa State fans around me truly mad. That mission was accomplished when I was yelling at their long snapper for having an incredibly slow snap. These college girls behind me tried to give me an etiquette lesson. They reasoned that I shouldn't single out their players if I wasn't a player. I shut them up fast when I told them I was in fact a player. For the rest of the game, they pointed me out as the jerk to all their friends and gave me rough looks whenever we celebrated. All in all, it was a really great, interesting day. Saturday, October 14th, 2000. Nebraska 56, Texas Tech 3. I left for New York Thursday of this week for my brother Jason's wedding. The wedding is today, and I'm obviously not traveling to Texas Tech. The wedding's in Manhattan, and the game was supposed to be televised on Fox, but the Mets game here took priority. All I saw of the entire game was ESPN highlights. From what I heard, this was the most complete and dominating game we've had all season. We amassed 440 rushing yards, while they only had a handful. Tuesday, October 17th, 2000. This is my first day back from New York. Practice started off pretty intense and picked up more intensity as it went along. Fights broke out every couple plays, mostly just shoving matches, but there were a couple of good fights that ended up with people involved running steps in the stadium. At one point, I noticed a bunch of guys walking off the field, and later learned it was the entire second-team defense along with the scout team walking to the South Stadium bleachers to run 5 stairs apiece. Apparently, I-back Thunder Collins slammed somebody into the ground, and that got the whole group going. Most of the guys only ran 1 or 2 and got away with it. In all, this was a very intense day, and everyone is really active. I think we're going to totally dominate Saturday. Baylor won't even know what hit them. Saturday, October 21st, 2000. Nebraska 59, Baylor 0. Like I said, they didn't even know what happened. It started off great with a punt block returned for a touchdown. Then we stuffed them again and again and again. I think they only had 1 yard of total offense at the end of the first half, and we went to the locker room with over 300 yards rushing, a few passing yards, and a 52-point head start. At halftime, Coach Solich said he would try to get as many people into the game as possible, and those people that usually start will just have to understand that the younger guys need this experience. So, this seemed like today could be the day I finally get in. To start the second half off right, the first string was back in and scored right away. After the PAT team came off the field, Coach Young told me I would take the rest of the PAT snaps. I thought, we've already had 8 touchdowns, so with over 25 minutes left, I could get a lot of snaps. Instead, the second team offense went in and repeatedly shot themselves in the foot. For the whole rest of the game, from the time I was told I would get in, we never scored. Coach Young then said I would get in at center for the next play. I ran in, huddled the guys up, and lined up and ran a 41 sprint. This was the 4th down, and we didn't get the first down, but I finally got my first official taste of playing time. When I came off, Coach told me again that I would take the next series. We had a little more than a minute. On the first snap, Joe Chrisman was the quarterback. Joe and I haven't taken a snap together for a long time. He mostly works with Matt Shook, whose snap is fairly cumbersome. On my first snap to Joe, we fumbled the transition, but luckily recovered. We only got 2 or 3 more snaps off before the game ended. So, the first time I ever played as a Husker, I was able to play in at least 2 offensive series and finished out the game. When talking to people like my family about it later, I told them it didn't really feel like anything different than practice. We practice like we play, so nothing that happens in a game should be anything we haven't seen before. Here's a little afterthought section. The fullback on that failed play, Andrew Wingender, who was a good friend and future best man at my wedding, will never let me forget that his first chance to carry the ball was ruined by me. Friday, October 27th, 2000. Tomorrow is the next great installment of the Game of the Century, a rematch of number 1 Nebraska and number 2 Oklahoma in Norman. It's my opinion that the team right now is the most focused and most prepared that I've seen in 3 years here. Confidence is high, and the focus is not just to beat them, but how to beat them. Technique has been stressed all week long at every position, and we know we'll have to play a complete, nearly flawless game to beat Oklahoma. Their defense will definitely be the best we've seen this season. Their linebackers and safeties are probably the best players on the team, and special attention has been paid to them. Any way you look at tomorrow's game, it should be good. The great thing about tomorrow is that one team will have the road to the national championship laid out before them, while the loser will forfeit nearly all hope of going to the Orange Bowl. Another great thing is that there is a strong possibility that no matter what the outcome, we will meet up again in the Big 12 championship game. Another chance for domination or defeat. It's kind of interesting being ranked number 1. It's nothing new for our program or for the coaches, and a lot of the players still have the 94, 95, and 97 national championships still fresh in their mind. It's almost like this is something that should have happened anyways, business as usual. There's no celebrating by anyone. Besides, it's not over until the last game is over, and that's a long way away. Saturday, October 28th, 2000. Nebraska 14, Oklahoma 31. The game started off great for us. We scored on our first 2 drives, giving us a 14-0 lead going into the second quarter. Oklahoma then took over and dominated. Their linebackers were in on almost every play, stalling our offense series after series. We blocked who we were supposed to, but most of the time, we just didn't block long enough, or the guy slipped off and made the tackle. Our defense was shredded all day long by an incredible passing attack that seemed almost too lucky to be true. It's funny. When you explain how you won, some people say you're bragging, but when you explain why you lost, everyone thinks you're making excuses. Monday, August 30th, 2000. The attitude on the team is surprisingly upbeat. I don't think this loss really had much of an effect on anyone. We all know what happened. We all know we'll probably see them again in the Big 12 championship game, and there's still a lot of top 10 matchups left for the season that could put us right back in the national championship spotlight. Practice today was in sweats on the grass. When we have no pads on, people usually take it easy and mostly work on getting their body in the right place instead of hitting and battling on the line. I guess defensive lineman Patrick Gabongo never got that memo because he was battling right off the line and trying his hardest to get to the ball in every play. Brian Nelson was blocking him and getting sick of the excessive effort. On one pass play, I was uncovered, dropped back, and then went to double team with Brian on Pat, nearly knocking him over. I don't think he liked that too well, because on the next play, Brian and Pat almost got in a fight. Some of those defensive guys, especially the younger ones trying to crawl up the depth chart, really try too hard in practice these days. Dan Swantek, offensive guard and poster boy for the white trash lifestyle, and also inventor of useless slang, likes to call these guys jarheads. I don't know where he comes up with this stuff, but it fits. Saturday, November 4th, 2000. Nebraska 56, Kansas 17. This was by far the most complete and dominating offensive game so far this season. We scored on all but 2 drives, and one of those was stopped by a fumble at the end of the game. We didn't punt all game. Eric Crouch, Carell Buckhalter, and Dan Alexander all had 100 yards rushing each. I got in for the last play of the game, It was a 49 pitch when the I-back takes it to the left, and even though I messed up on my first assignment, I was able to get downfield and make a key block that got Thunder Collins an extra 10 yards. My dad would have loved to have seen this had he been in town. It doesn't help that my mom set the VCR to tape the wrong channel. I'll just have to get a tape of the game from the video guys. John Rutherford blew his ACL in his left knee today in the game. It was one of those freak accidents. On one of our passes, it was intercepted and John was running downfield to make the tackle. He slowed down a little bit and set up to hit a blocker, and his knee buckled. He had been extremely valuable to the O-line this year as the sixth starter. He can play every position on the line and has made many contributions to every game. He will be missed for the rest of the season, but will be back next year. I guess I forgot to collect my money from the past couple of games, because when I went to get my weekend money, Norma told me that I have 4 games worth to collect. In all, Sunday, November 5th, 2000. My picture was in the paper today. The picture is of Thunder Collins popping through the defense for a 17-yard run and shows me making a block to let him sneak by. Back in my senior year in high school, I went to a basketball game between Millard West and Millard South. An old teammate from my freshman year when I was at Millard South, who was one of the star athletes and also very arrogant and cocky, told me I should go somewhere where I will actually play. Shrugging it off, I asked where he planned to go. His posse of idiots didn't appreciate me questioning their leader and quickly stepped up, ready to fight. After his unintelligible monosyllabic answer proved that he wasn't looking for a friendly conversation, my plan was clear. If there's ever a picture of me in any publication for the Huskers, especially an action shot, I would send it to him and show him what I can actually do. Now I have my chance, and it's more than perfect. Monday, November 6th, 2000. We went through the goals today and saw that the offense met all 11 of its goals for the Kansas game. That hasn't happened yet this year, and it's very rare for it to happen ever. That's just proof that we played an awesome offensive football game. The defense also did very well in achieving their goals, as did the special teams. If we can play like this the rest of the season, there's no reason we can't be national champions. It was cold and rainy today, forcing us to move inside the Cook Pavilion. I think this winter could be drastically different from the past two, which were bearable throughout the entire season. We actually might get a typical Nebraska winter this year. Tuesday, November 7th, 2000. Today was probably one of my best practices ever. For some reason, I had a lot of energy and strength, and I was really able to push around the first and second string defensive linemen. I was flying all over the field and felt great. It can probably be chalked up to the fact that I have a new girlfriend, and the psychological effect of a positive relationship can never be underestimated. I got a new pair of black sweatpants and a new black sweatshirt today. These clothes finally have the Husker insignia on them, unlike some of the stuff we've gotten in the past that just has the generic Adidas logo. Saturday, November 11th, 2000. Nebraska, 28. Kansas State, 29. This was a surprisingly close game for how horribly we played. Blame it on the icy turf, blame it on the wrong shoes, or just blame it on the fact that we couldn't do anything productive all day long. We looked absolutely terrible. It was best that I had to watch this game on TV so I didn't get too upset. It seemed to me that we weren't even opening up our playbook. We stuck to a few plays for most of the game and suffered terribly for it. The option game was halted at every attempt, Crouch had trouble getting the ball to receivers, and we couldn't put a decent drive together. My feelings about this loss are very disconnected. I truly don't care. I worked as hard as I could the entire week of practice to get the defense ready for this game. I did all I could. Since it wasn't me out there on the field, I feel no immediate connection to this game. I take no credit for anything. Actually, the defense did a very good job from what it looked like. It was just our offense, of which I play a very little part right now, which lost the game. Now, we just have a slim chance of making a BCS Bowl. We'll probably make another appearance to the Holiday Bowl. I wouldn't mind going back to San Diego, actually. Tuesday, November 14th, 2000. I guess the attitude about not giving the number 1 ranking too much thought has now carried over into not giving our losses too much worry. Many of the guys seem totally unfazed by what's going on right now. We had a team meeting yesterday, but we didn't have practice. Today, as a fairly nice surprise, former Husker and 17-year veteran in the pros, Irving Fryer, came in and gave us a speech. He basically talked about how he had been through a lot in his life, so that made him qualified to talk about a lot of stuff. Later in his speech, he kicked the coaches out of the room because he wanted us to be able to ask him questions without fear of the coaches hearing. He said some pretty interesting things about girls, money, agents, racism, and drugs, and some guys even had questions about his teammates in the pros. One thing that shocked me, as well as a few other guys I'm sure, was his belief that it's men's responsibility to lead women because they have been bringing us down since the beginning of time, and we need to let them know where they stand in the social order. He said women are incapable of leading, and since they came from a part of us, we have the right to control them. Basically, he sounded like a sexist, egotistical jackass, and I wasn't alone in thinking this. Oh well, I guess this guest speaker said something we'll actually remember. My strength is continuing to improve on certain lifts. Today on hang clean, I did 292 pounds really easily with the help of a lot of adrenaline and a good night's sleep. Today I weighed in at 285 pounds, which means I've lost 20 pounds since the start of the season. I'm going to have my body fat tested later this week, and I'll find out if that loss is fat or muscle. The practices so far have been pretty intense for me. I am in for basically every play, and I don't even get a break during the special teams thanks to my long snapping skills. I'm constantly running all practice long, so it's no wonder why I'm so tired and losing so much weight. I'm getting tired of this really quick. Wednesday, November 15th, 2000. Matt Shook was sick today, so that moved me up to the twos, and I had them all to myself during practice. I did fairly well for not having practiced with those guys for the vast majority of the season, but there are still many things I need to work on. I think I'm leaning forward too much when I block, and that leaves me unable to make quick direction changes. I also don't know which linebacker to chip off on some of the plays, so that didn't help. Coach Seniper had to help me out with some of the plays during the run station, but I think I didn't make any major mistakes. Friday, November 17th, 2000. Shook came back today, but to my surprise, I stayed with the twos instead of moving back down with the scout team. This is a very positive sign. Shook and I do a rotation where he takes the majority of the snaps, and I pretty much fill in when he needs a break. This doesn't get me much experience with the plays, or much of a workout in general, but it is helping me learn the plays. Sunday, November 19th, 2000. We had practice today in half pads in the cook, and it really felt weird to practice on Sunday. We usually don't do anything on Sundays, but with the Colorado game on Friday, we needed to push the week up to get it all done like a regular week. I'm still with the twos, rotating with Shook, and making fewer errors every day. Today, as a bonus for practicing on a Sunday, we got $60. Tuesday, November 21st, 2000. We practiced in sweats today. I think the coaches realize how tired, sick, and sore a lot of the guys are by this time of the year. With the temperature falling hard and finals slowly creeping up on all of us, it's always a welcome break when we can do something different. I think the general feeling on the team right now is that the dream of the national championship season is shot, but we can still finish out the season in style. A dominating win over Colorado and a win against a good team at a good bowl should help us end up in the top 5 when it's all over. We got money for the weekend at dinner tonight since we will practice twice and have the game on Friday, all with no school. In all, I got $90. Thursday, November 23rd, 2000. Practice was at our regular 3:30 time. My family was eating Thanksgiving dinner in Omaha at 2. My brother Jason was in town from New York with his wife Stacy, so I wasn't too happy about missing all that. After practice, Brian Nelson invited me to go up to Omaha with him to his family's Thanksgiving meal. Since I would probably have a frozen pizza if I stayed in Lincoln, I happily accepted. After the meal, I called my parents and surprised them by telling them I was only 4 miles away when they thought I was in Lincoln. So I spent some time with them and then came back to Lincoln later on. Friday, November 24th, 2000. Nebraska 34, Colorado 32. Today was senior day. All the seniors got a chance to say something to the guys while we got dressed in the locker room, and it was a mostly positive affair, with a few tears shed by a few guys. The psych-up video was just a few seniors talking about how meaningful their careers have been and how much they want to go out winners. After that, it was a locker room as usual, with all the yelling and screaming, and then we charged out onto the field, not realizing at all what was about to happen. The Colorado team that came to play us today has had a very rough season. They were 3-6 and were 25-point underdogs, but I thought this spread was not appropriate after they had lost a few close ones against some very good teams. There were big plays happening everywhere throughout the entire game, and both sides capitalized on the other team's errors effectively. There were blocked kicks on both sides and amazing plays all day long. Perhaps the most amazing was the last minute of the game. Colorado scored and had a chance to tie it up with an extra point. In a very gutsy move, they went for a 2-point conversion and got it with an amazing catch in the end zone, putting them up 32-21. On their kickoff, they kicked a low line drive that was returned to our 35-yard line. We then put on one of the most impressive drives since the final drive of the 1997 Missouri game. In 45 seconds, we passed effectively down the field and were able to set up Josh Brown for a 29-yard field goal. He had missed one earlier and had been very inconsistent with field goals so far this season, so the whole state was holding its breath. With 5 seconds on the clock, they set up the snap, the hold, and the kick. Barely missing the outstretched hands of a Colorado player, the ball sailed up and through the goalposts. Brown was immediately smothered in a giant pile on the field. Some guys picked him up and began to carry him around the field, and he looked as happy as any man could be. The final score of 34-32 created a 5-year string of games with Colorado, where the total difference in points scored is just 15. This shouldn't be such a rivalry, but somehow it is, and definitely made for one of the most exciting games of the year. Alright, I've got to take a little time out here and cover this topic. For the past several years, this Colorado-Nebraska matchup has been given the title of rivalry. Now, this is entirely made up by Colorado. Nebraska fans really don't call this a rivalry. We don't care. For the Nebraska players, too, it's just another game. We're going to go out there and beat them like we usually do. And Colorado, it's kind of funny because they even had to create these myths, these stories about the Nebraska games of the past and how horrible we are and how horrible our fans are and everything else to be able to sort of rationalize why this game is such a rivalry. And it's just kind of funny for us, and it's funny I'm sure for a lot of Nebraska fans. And it's really ridiculous. And I can't really explain why they've done this. It sort of seems like they've created some sort of fanciful history. Sunday, December 3rd, 2000. It's official. We are going to the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio, Texas. The game is played on the 30th, and the way it looks, we might actually leave on the 26th, giving the possibility for the first Christmas with my family in 3 years. Saturday, December 9th, 2000. We had practice on Tuesday, Friday, and today. We even got $25 for practicing today. Some recruits were in this weekend, so we had to put on a show for them and go in full pads. Most of the guys today were hurting after a long night of parties. A few guys reeked of alcohol, and one of the starters only got 2 hours of sleep and was hung over. I didn't get much sleep, but I didn't feel too bad considering how late I was out at the bars. I would bet the majority of the guys would rather not have practice today. I think a good sign that you are climbing up in the program is the number of favors people do for you. Wednesday when I was lifting, I wanted to get 2 days of lifting done in one day and asked Bailey how I can do it. He said to do hang clean and some other stuff, but I told him my back was hurting and probably shouldn't do hang clean. He thought about it, and then just told me to forget about doing anything for Thursday's lifting, and that he would take care of filling out my card. I'm sure there are more exciting stories of guys getting favors from the coaches, the staff, or other people around the community, but I really haven't heard much stuff around here. As far as I can truthfully tell, we are a very clean program and follow the rules carefully. Saturday, December 16th, 2000. This was finals week, and it was a struggle for everyone, as usual. We had practice on Tuesday, Friday, and today. Friday I told the coaches I had a paper to work on until 5 in the afternoon, and would have trouble making it to practice. Coach Tenniper said to work on it as fast as I could and make it to practice because they needed me. After I left Coach's office, I handed my paper in, which was already done, and went home to sleep for the first time in 2 days. I felt bad for lying to Coach Tenniper, but I would not have been any good in practice running on no sleep. This morning we had breakfast, got paid $127, and had meetings at 9 o'clock. Practice started at 10. The most interesting thing that happened was a fight between Kyle Colmorgan, a junior offensive lineman, and Sandro DeAngelis, a scholarship freshman kicker. I don't know the whole story, but verbal taunting by both turned into a fistfight, and the much larger Colmorgan held Sandro down and repeatedly punched him in the face. When I was walking out of the cook, I saw Coach Tenniper and Coach Young talking to Sandro, and his whole face was cut up and swollen. I guess Sandro said he wants Kyle kicked off the team. When Coach Solich said he wouldn't do that, Sandro told him he's going to press charges against Kyle. This brings up interesting questions. Is everything equal for everyone, or do some people get away with things others wouldn't? Are the punishments really appropriate for the offenses? Is there a line between the team and our rules and the outside world and its laws? Are we an extra-legal entity capable of handling something like this in an appropriate manner? It will be interesting to see what happens with this, especially when the media gets its hands on it. I think that many athletes, regardless of the sport, think that they are above the law when it comes to certain things. They know that they are so valuable to the team that anything they do wrong will quickly be taken care of. Incidents happen all the time. It's common to see a player get suspended for breaking team rules. In the real world, this would have given Kyle an assault charge, a court date, and a criminal record that would hang over him forever. As it is, he'll probably get a slap on the wrists and be told to go think about what he's done. No wonder so many star athletes are so maladjusted when they always get what they want and have no consequences. Monday, December 18th, 2000. Coach Solich informed the team today that he suspended Kyle for the fight, and Kyle won't practice for the rest of the year or travel to the bowl game. I'm guessing that was the agreement Sandro and the coaches came up with to avoid messy legal hearings that could put a black mark on the team. The practices for this week look okay. We will be going every weekday. It seems we will practice in the cook the entire time, since there is blowing snow and a negative 20-degree wind chill. Except for the walk over to the cook from the locker room, I don't mind. I started to get a new football sign for my parents today for their Christmas present. It's a lot easier to do this now that I'm in the south locker room. All the main guys are there, and I can probably get this done in record time. Wednesday, December 20th, 2000. We got $84 at lunch today. This is more money, meant for food, which will be used for Christmas presents instead. Today's practice was just horrible for me. Even though it was in sweats, it went too long, there was too much running, and there was way too much activity on the line. I guess I was just tired, but whatever it was, I was totally dead after practice. When we got back to the locker room, we picked up our end-of-the-year gift bag from Adidas. Along with a really nice black duffel bag with wheels, we got 2 hats with an Adidas logo on it, one black and one red, 2 t-shirts with a big Adidas logo, one black and one white, one long-sleeve black shirt, a pair of black wind pants with white stripes on the side, a faded black fleece vest, a faded black fleece pullover, an Adidas watch, and a pair of Adidas sunglasses with extra lenses. All in all, it was a pretty nice bag of gifts. Thursday, December 21st, 2000. Today's practice was in full pads and was almost a repeat of yesterday. I really am getting tired of practicing. I think everybody is getting tired of practicing. No one was moving with 100% speed or effort, and I think the coaches noticed this because they said tomorrow's practice will be in half pads instead of sweats, like they said earlier in the week. After lifting, I made my way back to the locker room, half delirious, and got one more gift out of our locker, a black Adidas backpack with the Husker logo on it. Sunday, December 24th, 2000. We were able to lift today and get paid for it. Brian Nellie Nelson, Chris Septak, and I, all Millard West High School grads, went to the weight room at 6:30 tonight, went right up to Norma, and got our money. We didn't lift, we didn't even raise our heart rate by any substantial amount. We just told her that we were there for the required 15 minutes and picked up our $76. I don't think anybody really did any kind of workout. There were guys walking out of the weight room in jeans and sweaters like they had just come out of a church service. Tonight I will pack, and tomorrow we'll be leaving bright and early for San Antonio. Monday, December 25th, 2000. We got to the airport at 7 o'clock this morning, but were slowed down from our planned departure at 8 o'clock by the security forces making everyone go through one metal detector. Usually, we never bother with metal detectors on team flights, but there was another group of people there as well, leaving from a different terminal. Norma was there to give us all $214 to start the trip off. We got to San Antonio at about 10:30 and were greeted with a small reception. We checked into the hotel soon after and got settled before the afternoon practice. The hotel is the Marriott River Center, a very nice hotel located on a branch of the Riverwalk. My roommate for this trip is Cody Volk, a pairing that I'm very happy with, instead of being put with Coulterman or another one of those idiots. Our practice site for this week will be the Alamo Stadium, a site used by the San Antonio Independent School District located near Trinity University, north of the city. It was cold and rainy the whole practice, and nobody was very happy. After practice, most of the guys lifted. I was told to lift, and since the guys who dress usually are the ones that lift during bowl games, I guess this means I will dress. When we got back to the hotel, we had meetings that were nice and short. Tonight there was a Christmas dinner for us, which was nice with a good spread of food. There was a small program after the food, but I skipped out early because I didn't feel like sitting through all that boring stuff. There is a players' lounge set up for us again. This one is actually divided into 2 rooms. One room has 2 pool tables, 2 pinball machines, 2 war arcade games, and 2 video game systems hooked up to 2 televisions. The other room has 2 more arcade games, including Hydro Thunder, a favorite of Dan Alexander, who mastered it during the Fiesta Bowl, and a table with snack foods and 2 big coolers with drinks. It really wasn't as nice of a spread as the past bowls, but it'll work. Tuesday, December 26th, 2000. Another early day. Meetings at 8:30 and practice at 10:30. In meetings, Coach Tenneper said he was going to dress 12 linemen, the 11 guys who practice with the 1s and 2s, and me because I long snap. He used these exact words. I'm not sure if I like dressing only because I can long snap, but it's allowing me to suit up. It was kind of like telling me that without my long snapping skills, I wouldn't have a place on this team. Practice was cold and wet again. Already, everyone hates this bowl. The only good thing about today was that it was the last practice in pads for the entire year. There was talk of the theme for next year being, Remember the Alamo. During some free time, I was able to explore the city and saw the Alamo and an IMAX movie about the Alamo. From what I saw on my little journey, the best part of the city is right around the Riverwalk and the Alamo. If you stray too far from the Riverwalk, the city gets pretty gritty. Tonight I went with a bunch of guys to the Alamo Dome to watch the San Antonio Spurs take on the Houston Rockets. At one point in the game, the Spurs mascot, a coyote, was running around on the floor throwing a football into the crowd. This one guy he threw it to wouldn't throw it back. The coyote went up to the guy and wrenched it out of his grip. As he walked away, the guy got up and ran and tackled the mascot mid-court and stole the ball again. While walking off triumphantly, he backed up straight into Russ Hochstein and one of Northwestern's players, who picked up the guy and dumped him in a trash can to the fans' delight. It was all planned, of course, but it was pretty funny to watch. I stayed until the start of the fourth quarter, but it was really boring, so I left and walked back to the hotel. Wednesday, December 27th, 2000. Another rainy, cold practice, but the sun started to break through later in the day. Everyone is really getting tired of this trip. At 6 o'clock tonight, we all loaded onto barges on the river and took a short trip, after waiting forever for the band to show up and lead the barges. We passed through an outdoor amphitheater that was split by the river, where there was a little pep rally. We were one of the last barges to pass through, so we didn't get to see any of the program or hear any of the speeches. We finally reached the Velita Assembly Hall, where our function was being held. The entire Northwestern team showed up soon after we did. After a small, unsatisfying meal, there was an even more unsatisfying program. The MC called up some of our guys and Northwestern's guys and played this game that was supposed to test how well we knew our teammates. Some of the guys filled out surveys earlier, and the person had to guess what they put down. The questions were really stupid, and Northwestern ended up winning that round. Next was the dance contest. Willie Amos danced with his jump rope and blew everyone away. Then Thunder Collins, Wilson Thomas, Randy Stella, and Josh Brown, who was posing as an equipment manager, all got up on stage and pretty much made fools of themselves. They called for coaches to dance too, but none of our coaches would do it. Then they called for trainers or managers, which is when Brown went up. Thursday, December 28th, 2000. We picked up our gifts from the Alamo Bowl today. We received a really nice letter jacket, which is amazingly small for a 3XL. We also received a hat and a yacht sweater, and a really nice Fossil watch with the Alamo Bowl logo on it. Luckily, we didn't get another bag. I already have about 10 bags, and I don't need another one. Some guys went to a hockey game tonight, but I went out with Aaron Patch, who came down with his family. We went to this bar and grill called Dick's Last Resort. They had a real nice deal on 32-ounce Bud Light bottles, and we both put away 4 of them in under 2 hours. The bar was full of girls, some of them at a bachelorette party, and I was drug out on the dance floor only to notice our strength coach Brian Bailey and some of the other football-related guys in the crowd. They all looked shocked to see me dancing with a girl at a bar, especially since it was so close to curfew. We had curfew at 11 o'clock, and I left the bar with about 10 minutes to spare. I ran all the way back to the hotel, deftly flying dangerously close to the unguarded edge of the Riverwalk, and made it with about 3 minutes to spare. Aaron was right behind me and ran into the room just in time to hide behind the side of the bed. Coach Young was soon at our door to check on us for bed check. From his unusual light-hearted grin and his eyes that couldn't seem to focus, I guess he was in the same shape we were. Later on, I heard from Bailey that Coach Young was at Dick's after he made his rounds. A wet paper towel fight broke out, and Coach Young was hit with a wad of paper square in his forehead. His head bobbled, stunned by the impact from this cold, wet projectile. But instead of wiping it away, he sat there for a few seconds, straining to look up at what was now attached to his face. I wish I could have seen that, but it was even funnier to see everyone give their own impersonation of what happened. Friday, December 29th, 2000. Luckily, after last night, we were able to sleep in until noon, when we had a kickoff luncheon in the grand ballroom. The food was pretty good, and for the program each team showed a highlight film. Ours was more like one of our psych-up tapes, with great scenes of this past year set to the song Kryptonite by Three Doors Down. The Northwestern tape was basically duplicated TV footage with no excitement. They had a pretty loud crowd there to support them at the luncheon. Once again, we were all glad when this was over. We haven't seen too many videos produced by the other teams we've played, but every one that we see makes us very thankful for the video crew that we have at Nebraska. They really know what they're doing, and they go to great lengths to make even the most insignificant video look outstanding. Later on, we were able to pick up the rest of our money for the trip, another $95. At 5 o'clock, we made our way to the Alamo Dome for our final practice. There, we took team pictures and had our short little practice that barely gets you heart pumping, and then we were out. Apparently, last night when Aaron Patch and I got crazy, he went back out and finished the night at the bars while I stayed up for him. He came back to find me asleep in my clothes, and he tried to go to sleep on the floor, but he was too cold. He got up and left to go back to his hotel at around 4 in the morning. But, in his stumbling, he left behind his hat, one of his shirts, and his wallet. When I woke up, I thought he was probably picked up by the hotel security, shirtless and without an ID, and sent to detox. Luckily he wasn't. He somehow walked back to his hotel about a mile away. Tonight, I was about to run his stuff back over to his hotel when I was walking through the lobby and heard him yell out behind me. He was waiting for me in the lobby with another one of our friends, and they were ready to go out again. What a trooper. Saturday, December 30th, 2000. Nebraska 66, Northwestern 17. Late games are always nice because the first half of the day has nothing to do but a few minor meetings. The coaches want to make sure that you're as fresh as you can be, physically and mentally. We've got the physical side taken care of with all our hours of practice we've put in. The coaches take care of the mental side by not having hours and hours of meetings before the game. I had a lot of time to myself today and spent most of it in my room, relaxing or in the game room. At 5 o'clock, we got on buses to travel 500 yards to the stadium. We should have walked just as easy. There's even a pedestrian bridge spanning most of the way towards the stadium. It seems like the height of laziness, but I guess we had to make an entrance. We got dressed quickly, and everyone seemed really focused on the game. There wasn't any talking. Every part of our pregame ritual was eerily subdued, even the parts where the seniors and starters usually give impassioned speeches that get us fired up. It was almost like we were so focused on playing the game that we didn't even pay attention to the yelling and chest-pounding ceremony that precedes every match. We took the field triumphantly to the cheers of thousands of Husker fans. Of the 60,000 fans in attendance, I bet over 60% were our fans. We started off slow but strong, and Northwestern hung with us for a few minutes. Then we proceeded to embarrass them on national television. The icing on the cake was a play we had been saving all year, when Crouch throws a lateral to Newcomb, and then Newcomb throws deep to Davison, who was wide open for a 69-yard touchdown pass. It was beautiful. Finally, when it was 66-17, Coach Young told me he would try to get me in. I finally went in for a total of 5 plays. Since I haven't been practicing with the 1s or 2s in a while, I didn't have a clue what to do on 3 of the 5 plays. We didn't get anything done, probably because of me, but it didn't matter. I finished out the game and made my family and friends so proud I could see them jumping around in the stands. Basically, we destroyed Northwestern. We put up the most points ever in a bowl game. I-back Dan Alexander had 240 yards on 20 carries and was awarded the offensive MVP. Rush-end Kyle Vandenbosch was awarded the defensive MVP. It was a great way to end the season and to get a start for next year. I went out again tonight, but everything was too packed to have a good time. Quite a few guys spend most of their bowl trip money and their free time at the local strip clubs. I think this is a huge waste of money, but I guess if that's what you like to do when you're in a new city with a pocket full of cash. End of the year summary for the year 2000. We finished 10-2, giving my class as well as Solich a combined record of 37-1. The atmosphere on the team is definitely different now than it was when I first came into the program. I can't quite explain it, but it seems much more relaxed. We're playing well, and we have a lot of young guys who are hungry to get some playing time. I guess we'll just have to see where another off-season brings us. I spent most of the season with the scout team, working my butt off and hardly ever getting a break in practice. Hopefully that means I'm more conditioned than the other guys, but I also think that means I'm more burnt out. 2001 Winter Conditioning. Thursday, January 4th, 2001. After weeks of speculation, center Dominic Raiola declared that he would leave and enter the NFL draft. This came after many reports saying he intended to stay at Nebraska, followed by some that said he was questioning his options, and then the final news hit today. In the press conference, he said he gave it a lot of thought and talked to the coaches about it, and that it was one of the hardest decisions he's ever had to make in his life. We all wish him the best and know that whoever picks him up will definitely get a great lineman. This is already creating questions for the next year, and the papers are quick to show the backups for the center job. They list John Rutherford, Matt Shook, and John Garrison, but no mention of me. I thought this was funny. Apparently, 3 people at center is good enough depth, but 4 would just be too much for people to handle, while still made to believe that there are problems. There always has to be controversy. Rutherford, when he gets healthy, will most likely be the starting center for next year. This means that I will have to work to beat out Shook and Garrison, which won't be easy, but is possible. This winter is going to be the determining factor in my success for the next 2 years. Thursday, January 11th, 2001. Earlier this week, I asked strength and conditioning coach Danny Noonan about the kickboxing program he and some other players do. I've heard a lot of good things about it from many of the guys. They have all said that it helps with flexibility, quickness, and coordination, which are things that I greatly need improved. I did my first session of kickboxing tonight and could immediately tell 2 things. 1, this is one hell of a workout, and 2, this could be exactly what I need to keep doing. Wednesday, January 17th, 2001. I've begun mentoring through the Teammates program. This program was set up by former coach Tom Osborne several years ago, and some of the players at the time were paired with troubled kids in the area. It grew quickly and now covers much of the state with hundreds of volunteers working with hundreds of deserving youth. The young boy I mentor is Lane Armstrong. He's in elementary school and seems to be a great kid. He just needs a little structure and support in his life. Today was the preliminary testing for the winter program. I really didn't care how I did today, and I was in a hurry since I had to get to my mentoring before 2:30. I started out with a very light warm-up and really didn't do too bad overall, but I didn't shine the way that I probably should have. I'm still slower than I should be with a 40-yard dash time of 5.8 seconds. I need to get that down somehow. The rest of my times weren't that different from what I posted in the past. If I can do it, now would be a good time to put on a show for the coaches and catch their attention. Monday, January 22nd, 2001. The first day of lifting. We met in the pit at 7 o'clock this morning and did a rather extensive stretching and warm-up routine, which is something that we're not used to. I think this definitely is a good idea, but no one can prove to me why it is a good idea to lift at 7 in the morning to begin with. I think it's the stupidest thing ever and totally wastes the rest of your day because you're so tired. Next year, when I'm a senior, I'm going to push for afternoon lifting. We started out light and this whole week will be fairly easy. Bailey wants us to work into the heavy weights gradually so we don't get injured and to keep the initial soreness down. Tuesday, January 30th, 2001. Toniu Finoti, our junior all-star Samoan guard, made news again today. He was benching and didn't get all of his reps on his set. This made him mad, and he punched a door in the weight room, possibly thinking he would punch through it. Instead, the door won the battle, giving Toniu 2 broken fingers that will keep him out of a lot of lifting for the rest of the winter. Monday, February 5th, 2001. We started our running today. The whole team is running together now, and we meet in the Cook Pavilion at 3 o'clock. We were divided into groups of about 15 and put in position at 6 different stations. We did harness pulls, 40-yard build-ups, abdominal work, an obstacle course with high ropes and bags, footwork drills that were the same as the jump rope drills minus the jump rope, and agility runs. After this, we went over to the pit and ran some plays as a group. I guess we'll be doing this type of circuit running for the majority of the winter conditioning. It sure felt like a good workout. My days are very busy now. With morning lifting, class from 9:30 to 12:20 every day, and kickboxing and aikido 4 nights a week, I don't have much time to do a lot of studying. I'm far behind in my classes, and I can't get myself motivated to do any of the work. My weekends are just recovery from the week, and my mind won't function right if I try to do any work. Something has got to get better soon, or I will have serious problems in school this semester. Monday, February 26, 2001. I hit an all-time max of 320 pounds on hang clean today. This should hopefully open the eyes of the coaches. Hang clean is one of the most impressive lifts because it ties in several major muscle groups, shows explosiveness as well as strength, and takes incredible coordination to do correctly. Friday, March 2nd, 2001. The last day of winter conditioning. I think I must be coming down with something because I felt drained of energy and didn't do too well on my last set of squat. When it was all over, I had to go to class, so I couldn't really celebrate. Tonight, all the linemen met at Hooters to celebrate the end of winter conditioning. They actually carded us this time, so the underage guys weren't allowed to drink, but most of them managed to anyway. I was getting tired, so I left early and went home. I was so tired that I actually went to bed at 7 o'clock, when I should have been enjoying the free steaks thanks to starting tackle Dave Volk and his dad. I eventually woke up about midnight and then went out partying for the rest of the night. All in all, it was an interesting winter. Wednesday, March 7, 2001. Today was our testing day to see how well we did throughout the winter program. This was not good for me. I was feeling sick today with a sinus and eye infection, and it really affected my performance. I didn't even feel well enough to go to class today, so I slept in and then went to the cook to test out. I didn't have much energy, but I figured I would give it a try. I only needed to beat 2 of my 4 events to avoid running the 300-yard shuttle. I came within a few hundredths of my best times in the 10 and 40-yard dashes, but I didn't improve in the agility run or the high jump. I talked to Coach Solich about possibly getting one more shot at the 40, but he said he didn't want people doing it too much as a way to avoid injuries. At this point, I was screwed. I had to run the shuttle, and I knew I wasn't going to make it. I didn't have the energy, and I probably would pass out from it. I told Boyd Epley that I was sick, but he just questioned my manhood and told me to do it anyways. I walked over to where they were running the shuttle, gave them my card as if I was getting in line, and then walked out. I didn't want to put up with their crap, and I knew I wouldn't get anywhere arguing with them, so I just left. Damn the consequences. It probably wasn't the best choice, but I didn't care. Thursday, March 8th, 2001. Another low day for me. I didn't get a phone call from any of the coaches last night wondering what happened to me, nor did I see anyone who asked me about it until dinner. One of the weight room staff told me Bailey wanted to see me and set up a time to run the shuttle. I went to the weight room, and Bailey was immediately upon me, wondering what happened. He couldn't believe that I would just walk out, and I think he knew there must be a good reason. I told him that I was sick, which he noticed as well, and he told me to have the doctor talk to Boyd and get it all cleared up. I then did that, so as far as I'm concerned, it's over. When I got home, I checked my email, which included a typical email from my dad about football, going on for a page or two about what I need to do and what I should think about doing to help myself out. Something in this, along with the way I was feeling and the stress I was under, made me write this reply. Dear Mom and Dad, it's time for me to be very blunt and honest. I'm sick of football. I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of answering everyone's questions about it. I'm sick of everyone who thinks they know everything about the Huskers trying to correct me when I don't even care. There are only a few guys on the team that I would even consider my peers. The rest are wastes of life who are given exceptional physical ability. The coaches and trainers are all two-faced, maybe more. They show their public face, talking highly about everyone. They show their compassionate face, saying that school, church, and family come before football, but then ridicule you if you actually use these reasons. If you're hurt or you're sick, they never take you seriously at first, unless you are a starter, and then you can get away with murder or rape. I would love to be cut. If they called me up tonight and told me that I got cut, it would be a blessing for me. I'm actually in trouble with the coaches right now for not finishing part of the testing, and I don't care. I don't see a future in this. It's not for me. Does this mean I will quit? No. This is where my internal struggle comes in. Playing football means more to everyone around me than it does to me. I enjoy seeing how something I do makes people happy. And I know, and you can't deny, that it makes you extremely proud. It's not that it's too hard. It's fun at times, the rewards are great, and the possibilities that could be opened from being a part of the Huskers are unlimited. I know that I could spend 5 years playing football and then go along my merry way into the real world, but I have all these questions. If I stay, will it have been worth it? Will I have just wasted 5 of the most prime years of my life doing something that didn't make me happy? Will the benefits that I receive from my participation mean anything to me? So far, none of it does. The watches, the rings, the clothes, they're all just possessions that I use because they fit my needs, not because I feel I really earned them. If I leave or transfer, will I find a place that truly fits who I am and what I'm looking for? Will I find better friends? Will my credits transfer? Will I be happy? Will I look back on this in the future and question my decision? Will everyone around me understand? I would rather focus on school and having fun with what I do. whatever that may be. I don't think it's fun to be a fifth wheel on the O-line. I don't think it's fun to spend all my time and energy on an activity that has become more of a business instead of a game. You know what I mean, too. Ticket price hikes are just one of the signs. It's not about the game and letting the players have fun. It's about winning and making more money than ever before. This boils down into the coaches' mentalities, creating those two faces and giving them ulterior motives for every action. My spring break is coming up. It's a full, uninterrupted week of no football-related activities whatsoever. I'm going to relax, forget about football, and enjoy it. This means that I'll be going to Kansas City. This means that I will be partying. This means you probably won't hear from me the entire time, and I need this. Ray, the kickboxing instructor, always talks about widening your vision and seeing everything around you at once. Since it is only natural that I take something that I learn and apply it to my life, I have seen all this more clearly now. Only now that I see everything, I don't know which path to take. For now, I see it as another 1.5 years of floating through my life. My inspiration is gone, my desire is gone, my love for the game is gone. Basically, I'm just doing this for everyone else. So don't worry, you'll still get your free tickets for next year's games. Of course, my parents were pretty surprised by this, and it probably raised a lot of concerns in their minds. I have hit a low spot in my life. Not exactly a depression, but something very similar. The whole winter conditioning, my classes, and my increasingly disgruntled outlook on my slow improvement all added up to this. Luckily, spring break is right around the corner, and I'll be able to relax for a week. Thursday, March 15th, 2001. My spring break was going well until today. I was driving to Kansas City with a friend. We left after dark, during which time the weather reports warned us about a big snowstorm moving in. We had just gotten into Missouri when I hit some ice and skidded head-on into a row of barrels and a portable flashing arrow sign. Luckily, we were able to walk away without injury, but my Chevy Blazer wasn't so lucky. The whole front end took it pretty hard, and the bumper got pushed all the way to the motor. We have to wait and see what the insurance people say about the damage before we attempt to do anything with it. I think this experience really snapped me out of my rut. Before, I viewed myself as disconnected from everything, as if I was watching my life on television. I had no emotions about anything. I was just going through the motions and was miserable. Now I have a new set of values for what I think is important, and I think this will be a big step for me. I could be dead right now, and if I was, how would people remember me? Who would remember me? Have I been wasting my time trying to rebel against something that I knew was right?